Welcome back to First Up this Tuesday morning. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, First Up goes live from the Ministry of Labour, Small and Micro Enterprises from the Centre of Excellence. And the Connex exposition goes from Wednesday all the way through to Saturday. Right now, we have another company that, of course, is great in terms of products and services. It's the Unit Trust Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago. Our bi-weekly guide to financial planning. Our guests, Margaret White, Marketing Manager at the UTC, and also Neil McCampbell, Marketing Officer at the Unit Trust Corporation. Ladies, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Looking very business savvy as usual. We're talking today about financial considerations in starting a family. And I like the fact that the UTC is always proactive in looking at people throughout the different stages of their lives and the different changes you go through in your lives, because every change has a different financial consideration.
That's
and
right.
so too, starting a family means added expenses, added investments, and the better you plan, the more effective you'll be able to transition into this new realm of your life.
Correct.
Actually, that's true, Paul, because it has a significant impact on your finances. So you now have to consider, am I going to have the baby at a private hospital, or am I going to the public hospital? If you're going to the private hospital, you have to look at from the range of $9,000-$10,000, and for complicated pregnancy, $15,000 to $30,000. Then, where am I going to get this money from? There's where your planning comes in, your time frame. So you have, this is an immediate need. So therein lies an immediate impact on your finances. It changes everything. Then you also have to consider, I have to buy crib, I have to buy pram, I have to buy car seat, right, and your recurring expenses,
pediatrician visits,
right, and doctor visits, prenatal, postnatal visits,
nursery, preschool,
right.
Correct.
So therefore, you have to consider your immediate needs, your medium, which will be 3-5, the preschool, and your long term. What am I going to do in terms of seeking the future for my child? So it really has a significant impact. And so we advise people to plan for your short term, plan for your medium term, plan for your long term. And the future of your child is so important. It really needs to be reassessed. Your finances, how am I going to treat with certain situations? So we want people to be comfortable in terms of their finances.
You talked about, the distinction between people who may be having a regular pregnancy and those who may be having a difficult pregnancy. And if you're having difficulty getting pregnant, that's a whole different kind of planning that you're going to be doing anyway.
Indeed.
What is your advice in terms of instruments that someone in that circumstance may want to explore to assist them with the medical challenges that they may be facing?
Well, it means you have to now look at your finances. It boils down to your finances. Can I really afford all of this? It means having to increase your income, remember, remains the same. It does not increase. Your husband, or it could be a single parent family member, and therefore, can I really afford all of these expenses? I can tell you that persons who have gone to private hospitals, the child is going to preschool and they're still paying, so they are saddled with expenses. Then the frustration comes in. Do you really want that?
But is there a particular investment instrument that I can be, investing in?
Certainly.
While even as I am thinking about becoming pregnant, and I am one of those difficult candidates,
right?
Because maybe I would need some extra help, from a fertility clinic or something like that. All of those expenses combined with the doctor's visits and having to get special care and so on and so forth.
Right. So I mentioned the medium term, the long term. So am I going to have this baby within the next 3 years? That's your medium, 3 to 5, long term, 5 and over. So there we have instruments such as the $30 income fund, which is short term, and you have the long term, which is the growth and income fund. And my colleague Nilma would be able to explore that in more detail.
Let's bring Nilma into the conversation. Nilma, even before we deal with that, I want to deal with the fact that Unit Trust's mantra is preparation from this time one starts to work. And even if we follow that mantra and that principle, even if we don't plan to start a family immediately, certainly from the time we start to work, we should start thinking about planning a family and start diversifying our investment and savings portfolios to deal with that even 7, 8, 9, 5 years down the road. Let's talk about that type of proactive thinking.
Okay, so if someone is planning ahead, and you'd always like to be able to, that's the ideal situation. So you're planning ahead, even in situations where you may have to go through via assistance from a fertility clinic. As Margaret stated, we have our TT Dollar Income Fund. So if your goal is to have your child in the next 2 to 3 years, then our TT Income Fund would allow you that opportunity and allow you access when you go, whether it's to the private hospital or even in public care, because you're still required to go to the hospitals with necessities. And you would therefore have that account that would allow you to access your funds. But if you're planning ahead, not just for you and you're planning for your child, you can then look at our equity investments, which will include investments such as our Growth and Income Fund. Some individuals wait until later on in life to have their children, and as a result, they may still have to deal with the education, say for example, of their child subsequent to being retired. So we will tell you during your retirement, during your working years, you can utilize our Pensions Plus, which would allow you to reduce your taxes during your working years, and then you have additional disposable income coming into you. So you can now utilize that fund, invest it in a, say for example, the regular Growth and Income Fund investment for the child. Then when the child comes, you have options in terms of how you invest for your child. Because you also have to take into consideration, you may want Ivy League education for your child. Some people may choose the public system, some may choose the private. And if you do, then we have investment options for that, such as our Children Investment Starter Plan. That investment you can start from the age of 6 months. And that investment allows you to start with as little as 5 units, which will cost you approximately $75. The corporation adds 5 units to that, and you have to hold on to that for a period of 5 years. Or you have the option of having a Student Investment and Protection Plan. That investment is actually my favorite. I have 2 boys. And my little son, who is 7 years old, he had sutures 3 times before he was 5 years old. This investment allows for you to have investment for the child until the child is 18, and it also gives you insurance coverage. You can start this investment with as little as $50, where $25 goes to the account and $25 for insurance, or you can go for a longer period where you have the child covered for 5 years and renew every 5 years. So you start with $125.
And the name of that product is once again?
It's the Student Investment and Protection Plan, yes.
Okay. We're speaking with our friends from the Unit Trust Corporation, and they're talking about starting a family or expanding your family, and some of the financial considerations you need to take into account when you're planning to do something like that. Let's say it's not your first baby. Let's say you've had, a baby or 2 before, and you're having another baby. Let's speak to those people who are growing their families.
Well, when you have those factors under consideration, you find that you can reuse the same items. Most people, for example, I have 2 children, and I did not intend to have a second, but I did. And so I had my stuff there in the storeroom, and I was able to take those things out. In some cases, if you've thrown those things away, you can seek the help of your family members. You will always find secondary items that are good that you can use. In that way, your expenses are reduced, so that you need to get your crib, you need to get a pram again. So you can seek those considerations. Then too, you can use your grandparents or your aunts as daycare centers. That is inexpensive and they are willing to do so to look after your children. Daycare centers range from $1,500 to $2,500 per month. You would not be able to afford those expenses because you now have 3 mouths to feed. So you really have to sit down and calculate the cost.
And even if you can, sometimes it's better to seek alternative practical measures and use that money to invest in a child's long-term future.
Yeah. Right. We even have friends who would often want to throw us the surprise baby shower. And we have in the past, for example, I had a friend when we, some years ago at our Arima CSC, and what we chose to do was pool the funds and give her the actual cash through an investment account because she was going abroad to have her baby. But as Jessie May would have stated, for individuals who are having or expanding their families, one of the things that you need to consider as a mother, for example, is that you have reduced income for a time. So we always advise that you seek to send in your NIS claims early so that it doesn't impact on your monthly income.
And we're going to be getting more advice from our friends at the Unit Trust after we take in the news with Vani Singh. Don't go far. First up, we'll continue.
Welcome back to First Up. It's 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. It's now time for our word of the day. And our word for the day is a noun. It is pandect, and it means a complete code of the laws of a country or system of law, a treatise covering an entire subject. So there are several pandects in the Trinidad and Tobago Constitution covering law in this country. Welcome back. Still with us, our friends from the Unit Trust Corporation. We're talking today about financial considerations when one is starting a family or when one has started a family. Our guest, marketing manager with the UTC, Margaret White, and also Nilma Campbell, marketing officer with the UTC. So let's talk about the situation that we started just before the break regarding unplanned pregnancies, of which many of us are unplanned pregnancies, but the individuals that come from them are no less worthy of care and consideration from one's family, and particularly young people who have probably just came out of school and have an unplanned pregnancy. What would you suggest their approach be? Their funds are limited, right. However, and now they have to balance between taking care of a child or getting ready to take care of a child if the child is not born yet, and also balancing daily needs and thinking about investing for the future, because if we don't invest for the future, we'll get ourselves caught up in that cycle of poverty in some instances.
Right, so your plans have gone awry. So you sit down and you calculate the cost, as I said previously. You write down everything that you have to spend for this new birth that is about to come into this world. We have our $30 income fund, which is short term, and we suggest that you do so by salary deductions because you don't miss it. And so once you do that, then you'll be able to, in some way, achieve that financial goal. You would have some level of comfort, because sometimes when you don't plan to do something and it just comes like that, you start to think, you start to wonder, where is this money going to come from? You sit down, you calculate, you write down everything, because you find that Pampers are expensive. When the baby comes, am I going to will the baby be wearing Pampers during the day, all day, or can I use perhaps cloth diaper? So I can use cloth diaper during the course of the day, and at night, perhaps I will consider using Pampers. So there are a lot of considerations when you have an unplanned birth, a baby that's coming. You really have to sit down and write down and seek, financial advice, so that we at Unit Trust can help you. You can call us at 624-8648, and we would work out a plan so that you can be financially comfortable.
Just before we took in the news with Vani, Nilma was making the point that there are certain other financial considerations that you need to put in advance, because for women it means reduced income for a period of time. Let's look at that again, Nilma.
Okay. What I would have shared is that you have reduced income because while you're on maternity leave, your income for the first month, you get full pay from your employers. For the second and the third month, you get half pay from your employers. So it means that you have to submit your claims to the National Insurance Board to fill that gap. And they will pay you the other half for the second half for your second and third month. And you also benefit from the maternity grant, which is currently $2,500. So if you submit that information early enough, it will allow you to receive your funds in time for the birth of your baby while you're on maternity leave, without it having an impact on your monthly expenses, right? Because you will have additional expenses during that time period. And if we should expand on what Margaret would have shared, for example, for the individuals who may have unplanned pregnancies, or even in young individuals who, you know, they may still need the assistance of their parents. For those individuals, we have the public healthcare system. And it means you can go to the clinic, you have free health care for yourself, because they would also give you the medical, the
expertise.
Not just expertise, but in terms of your own health.
Your practical
needs. Because they said a healthy mother means a healthy baby in most instances. So you can utilize the public system to then offset that expense. So any funds and assistance that you may get from your family members can then go to assist with your planning for that baby as the baby comes. You deal with your monthly expenses, then you have to consider that you may be able to buy your items in bulk. The Pampers, for example, you may get a box of almost 200 for $199 at Price Mart, whereas if you're buying the small packs by the 40s and so on, you pay more at the end of it. So you have to manage all those expenses. We would also advise that if you are not working, that you use that time during your pregnancy to seek and see where you might be able to find a job after you have your baby, because you have to support your child after the child gets here.
I want to bring a word into this that we haven't discussed at all since we started our discussion. And it's because of society's context where pregnancy and children are concerned. And we have a situation in Toronto where many children are born to mothers and fathers who are not married.
Correct.
And we've constantly spoken about mothers, investment for mothers, investment for mothers. What about products that can facilitate fathers, and we like to use the term unwed mothers, but an unwed mother also means an unwed father, but we don't call the father unwed. One of the quirks of society. And the fact that the couple may not be together, and the gentleman may be contributing to his child's welfare and wants to open a product or explore a product that can secure his child's future and have access in emergencies, but also make sure his child is provided for down the road. That may be a separate account or a separate product that the mother is dealing with, or they can deal with it together. As a separate people, as two people contributing to this child's welfare.
So as Nilma alluded earlier, we have the Student Investment and Protection Plan, which allows you the investment aspect as well as the protection of the child. Just $50 to start this particular product. And then we also have the Children Investment and Protection Plan.
I'm going to ask a very strange question. Are there special circumstances where people can open these accounts, because there's so many different realities existing with parenting in Trinidad and Tobago, where mother has access, father doesn't have access, father gives mother limited access because of the different vagaries of situations that occur in Trinidad and Tobago in a practical sense.
Right.
All right. We have our, for example, if we say the $30 income fund, for example, where you can look at emergencies. There's pediatric care for the child once the child is here. Those can be scheduled or unscheduled because babies get sick all the time. The parents can choose to have a $30 income fund as their emergency fund. They can do so separately or together. If they do so together, then that eliminates the option to have a card attached to this account. If they have separate accounts, however, they can both have a Visa debit card, which would allow them to utilize the card for payment. Now, with the joint account, they can both contribute to that account, and they can seek to say, okay, we can have the account set up in such a way that either person can sign. So if there's an emergency, one parent isn't available, the other can still access the funds.
I love you, Trust. Always taking care of situations.
We also, with the Student Investment and Protection Plan, even though there's the insurance element, godparents or aunties and uncles can access those accounts and have the account for the child in support of the parent. But in terms of the insurance element of it, then the parent will have to claim if something happens to the child.
Very good.
Okay, that's going to do it for this week's session with our friends at the Unit Trust. Thanks very much, Margaret White and Nilma Campbell. Always great to have you on set with us. And I hope all of you expectant parents out there and planning to be parents and already are parents, I hope you got information that you could really use this morning. Don't forget to check out ttutc.com. Click on the mutual funds link and get all the information about the different plans that can apply to you and your family. We're going to take a break and be back with more on First Up.